This is a modest 72-unit co-op in Staten Island. It sits on a busy street next to a pizza joint and a ravioli store. And this is a single-family brownstone in Tony Park Slope, Brooklyn. Its neighborhood is a bit more upscale. According to public tax records, the two properties have market values in a similar range, which means their property taxes should be roughly the same, right? Not exactly. Welcome to New York City's dysfunctional property tax system.
The system we have now is just pretty much wrong for a whole lot of segments of our society.
You have enormous disparities across the city.
I just think it's so unfair.
I've gone through my 401k.
We have to keep fighting. We can't not fight anymore.
I'm just gonna try my best. How's that? Let's see how it goes.
Elena Imperato manages 1160 Richmond, an all-electric co-op in Staten Island.
My grandfather had built the building. We have a lot of police, firemen, nurses, a wide variety of people.
In 2008, something strange started happening to the building's tax bills. They went up, and up, and up. In a little more than a decade, 1160 Richmond's property taxes have gone up nearly 300%. According to Elena, no one at the city's Department of Finance could explain why.
It's like a rock and a hard place here. You don't know where they come up with these numbers.
My apartment is 3 rooms and $4,500 a year. I lived in Brooklyn. I didn't pay that for a whole house.
There are a lot of people here who are on a fixed income. I will be one of them soon. It's a lot of money to not be reasonable.
Spiraling costs. 900 square foot apartments paying more in taxes than single-family homes. How does this happen?
The way the system works is a bit complicated.
This is George Sweeting. He has spent the last 2 decades analyzing property taxes for the city's independent budget office. He says the state's laws are largely to blame.
It dates from legislation that was passed back in 1981.
That's right, 1981. Ed Koch was mayor. The Jets were good.
28-3 in favor of the Jets.
And New York City had a problem. New York's highest court had ruled that the way the city administered property taxes was illegal. In response, state lawmakers chose to remake the system. The system they came up with was designed to favor owners of 1 to 3 family homes over renters and businesses. They did this by dividing all New York properties into 4 distinct classes.
Class 1 properties, those are 1, 2, and 3 family homes. Class 2 properties are rental plus co-op and condo buildings. Class 3 is the property of utility companies, and then Class 4 is everything else.
Once separated into these categories, lawmakers created different rules and formulas for how each class would be taxed, again with the scale tilted toward 1 to 3 family homes. To see how this works, let's look at our 2 properties, the Staten Island Co-op and the Brooklyn Brownstone. The effective tax rates we flashed on screen earlier represent a more than 2,000% difference between them. How does this happen? Remember those market values on our 2 buildings? In a perfectly fair system, taxes would be based on a percentage of those market values. The more your property is worth, the more you pay. But then you'd have the owners of 1 to 3 family homes paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. So instead, the city essentially invented a new value to calculate property taxes, what it calls an assessed value. Here's where things really start to get wonky. For 1 to 3 family homes built before 1981, the law places a cap, or limit, on how much a homeowner's assessed value can rise each year. Just 6%. That means no matter how much a home's market value goes up, its assessed value, the amount it's taxed on, can only increase by 6% a year. In contrast, condos, co-ops, apartments, and other commercial buildings receive no such cap. They can get an assortment of abatements, tax credits, and phase-ins to help, but ultimately, there is no limit on how much their taxes can rise. This is part of the reason why our $5.1 million brownstone's assessed value has stayed a modest $50,000, while our Staten Island Co-op's assessed value, which isn't capped, has climbed to $2.1 million. And more importantly, why the effective tax rates between the two are so unequal.
One of the goals was to protect Class 1 properties and to limit the increases in taxes that they would face. Those protections have worked pretty well.
For their part, lawmakers seem to know that things have gotten out of whack. Over the years, leaders have added a series of specialty programs to mitigate some of the inequality. But critics say the system has become so complicated, many taxpayers don't even know these programs exist.
It's created a confusing, difficult situation to navigate.
Jeff Gulkin is a property tax attorney who has spent more than 2 decades challenging assessments for a wide variety of New Yorkers. He says fixing the system is critical.
This is an egregious, broken system that needs attention. And it's tied in with the economy, it's tied in with housing, and it's tied in with making the city what it should be.
So, what's to be done?
Our property tax system is not fair and equal. It needs to be addressed. Here's the way to do it.
Over the years, multiple administrations have set up commissions to study the issue. But nothing has changed. New Mayor Eric Adams has vowed to make the issue a top priority. Complicating matters, any fixes will ultimately need to be made by the state legislature in Albany. There's just one giant problem.
If you make a change, you will almost certainly have not only winners, people whose tax bills get lowered, but other people's taxes would go up.
These are the voters. These are the people who have gotten used to owning a house and paying maybe $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a year.
The politics of that has led to inaction.
Property taxes account for 50% of New York's budget. They pay for essential services. While many recognize that the current system is flawed, reform has been elusive. In a sense, leaders have opted to adopt the inverse of that old maxim. If it ain't fixable, leave it broken.
Everyone has problems with it, but everyone has different problems.
It doesn't make sense. It's frustrating.
We need an explanation. We've been trying for years.
This is very much a part of that effort to keep New York City great, keep it the Big Apple, and make people feel they're getting a good deal here.